Hey guys, this is going to be the third video we've posted today, which is some sort of record for us by far. The topics keep coming up that we just can't stay away from. So, the Starbucks boss banning guns or politely asking customers not to bring guns into Starbucks. There's a ballsy dude. So, very surprising for an American company to take that stand, because he knows, of course, what it's going to cost them. It'll probably cost them all sorts of dramas, at least. It's hard to know because the pro-gun people are so vocal. So, for example, I looked at a few interviews on YouTube, 4 or 5 of them with different people, interviews he did with different people, including some lady called Poppy. A grown woman called Poppy, but there's 4 or 5 interviews on YouTube with different news organisations, and I listened to each one just to sort of get as much as I could from him, and read the comments, and the comments on YouTube were predominantly from pro-gun people really losing their minds, like, how dare this guy take away our rights, how dare this guy, be anti the Constitution and all this sort of stuff. Really banging on about their rights. So just looking at that, there's a majority of the people on YouTube, at least, were against him for it. But I think always with these things, the moderate people tend to be more quiet. So it will be interesting to see if he loses more customers than he gains, or over the next couple of months they'll know from their revenue whether they lose more customers than they gain or gain more customers. It would be fantastic if they gained more customers, because that might give other companies the courage to do the same thing. So financially, as a business, it's a fairly gutsy move, because it's hard to know which way it'll go, There might be a lot of people who this has given them great exposure, and it'll galvanise, or it'll what's the word for that? It'll separate the two camps. There'll be people that will either be saying, like on YouTube, I'm not going to Starbucks again, that's it, I'm not going there again, which will be one side, one group of people. But there'll be other people who might say, that's a really ballsy thing to do, I'm going to support Starbucks and go there more often. So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. The company will know over the next couple of months. So just straight out as a business thing, fairly ballsy thing to do. Much easier just to keep your mouth closed and not say anything about this. So it's fairly ballsy on his part. I thought quite civilised too. I think if people look at, even if they disagree with what he said, I think what he said in a fairly civilised way. He said that there's people with opinions on both sides of it, but they just think that a coffee shop where people go to relax, and families go to relax, and kids go to relax, and people go to relax, that there's no real need to have guns in there. Which, whether you agree with him or not, the way he said it was quite diplomatically said, I thought. Although I get the distinct impression, if he thought it was practical, that he would actually ban them. But as he said, he can't really ban them, because you can imagine the scene. You can imagine the scene. Some body comes in wearing a gun on their hip, and the 18-year-old behind the counter has to tell them to leave. Who knows what the result of that could be. So it's a difficult situation. That would be a really ballsy move if they decided to do that, to ban guns in the stores and enforce it. The only solution would be to call the police every time someone came with a gun. Ask them to leave. If they wouldn't leave, call the police on them. But that'd be pretty scary shit. It only takes one nutcase who hasn't taken his pills that day or something, and you could end up at the store getting shot up, couldn't you? So, yeah. Just on this too, on the subject of gaining customers or losing customers, I know what this does on YouTube. Every time I make a gun, every time I make a video supporting the anti-gun thing, or talking about guns at all, I lose subscribers, lots of them. the YouTube actually gives us a little graph thing like this, and you can see, you know, subscribers coming and going. And every time I make an anti-gun video, it goes boof. So it seems that, and this is what this guy's copying a lot of flack too. And I think it's interesting that the same people who go on about, you know, how dare he be anti the Constitution, and how dare he infringe on my rights and all this sort of stuff. Interesting that the same people that bang on about that sort of stuff, you know, you're saying I should lose my right to have, I should lose my rights. The same people that bang on about that don't seem to think that anyone else has rights to have opinions on things or express their opinions on things without getting abused, which is sort of a little bit hypocritical, I think it could be said. And the other thing is that it's a person's right to, it's private property, right? Starbucks is private property, so I think people have to agree that you can choose who comes into your establishment based on whatever guidelines you want. You know, if you're having a party at your house and people turn up and you don't want them in your house, whatever your prejudice is. I was thinking about this before. I was thinking these guys that are going on about that, you know, take away my rights. You know, if you're having a party at your house and people turn up at your house, don't you think you should have a right to decide who comes in? Assuming that these, you know, I'm talking to people that don't own businesses, but surely you can choose who you do business with. Surely you can choose who comes into your private property. Surely that's one of the basic rights that people have. So, you know, Starbucks is private property, basically. So, you know, I think, isn't it a more reasonable reaction? Wouldn't it make pro-gun people look more reasonable if this guy's, and again, it's a bit like the Putin thing with his letter in the New York Times. It's a challenge to people to respond in a civilized way, you know. And if you're pro-gun, surely it's better just to say, as some people did on YouTube, I won't be going to Starbucks anymore. That's enough. Because I think banging on about the Constitution isn't really relevant in this case because it's private property, so, you know, and then you got rights. The rights thing's a bit of a tough one to take on in this case because the people in Starbucks have rights as well. The staff do, the owners do, the customers do. And if the customers, you know, feel more comfortable without guns waving around in Starbucks, well, they got rights too. So surely the most reasonable response, if you're a pro-gun person, is just to say, I disagree with his policy, so I won't be going to Starbucks anymore. You know, when we're talking about rights, this guy has a right to ask people not to bring guns into his store. That's all he's done. And the customers have a right not to go into the store. You know? Same as with these videos. It's the same thing. You know, I have a right to make a video and express my opinion. Other people have a right not to listen. You know? Trying to be, you know, abusive towards him, or it's taken a lot of courage. I reckon it's taken a lot of courage. It's horrific to think, because there's some real extreme people out there on the pro-gun side, you know, and dangerous people. So it's pretty brave, you know. I'd hate to think that somebody would throw a petrol bomb through a window or something because of this, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. You know, I noticed there's another big shooting going on over there this week, so there's no shortage of nuts. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if someone threw a firebomb through a plate glass window into a Starbucks or shot it up with a shotty or something. You wouldn't like to think it would happen, but we know it could, don't we? So, very interesting, very, very interesting, very surprising, totally surprising that a company would take that stand in America. Very impressive, very impressive. Be interesting to see if any others have the courage to follow along. Be great if they did. You know, from a point of view of a person who doesn't like the idea of societies being full of guns and who genuinely believes that it doesn't make society any safer. I think it'd be fantastic to see private enterprise getting involved in it. And saying, interesting, that one of the interviews, they said Disney has a no guns rule, which is fair enough too. Who needs to take guns to Disneyland? Yeah, fair enough. No need for guns in Disneyland. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if any other businesses take up on it. You know, McDonald's or somebody else. It'd be great if they did. I think it's a good idea. It's the same as the anti-smoking. Someone else drew a parallel between it and the smoking thing. Smoking's a good... I think it's a similar thing. People going about the smoking of the smokers' rights, and keeping in mind I used to be a smoker too. Smokers' rights, you know. But yeah, the right for me to smoke. What about the right of the person beside me not to have to breathe the smoke? And it's a similar thing. You know, the right to wear your gun on your hip in Starbucks. Or what about the right of the person next to you not to feel uncomfortable because of the gun, you know? Interesting too, the guy at Fox interview, Fox. Fox News, there's a oxymoron. The guy on Fox said, what are you going to do, search them? And, you know, of course, yes, Fox, straight to the point, but yeah, they're right, of course. Because not everybody's honest, are they? So there'll probably be people that will be having their concealed gun on them and going into Starbucks and keeping the gun thing quiet, I guess. Which, if nobody sees it, no harm done, probably. If we're talking about guns making other people uncomfortable, if they go into Starbucks with a gun and no one sees it at all, probably no harm done, I guess. Not terribly honest though. If the company has asked you not to go into the store with a gun and you do go in with a gun, it's not very honest of you. But by the same token, I guess if someone's got a concealed gun on them and no one sees it, probably no harm done. No harm done. And legally, if they've only asked you not to take a gun, there's no legal problem with that either, obviously. So I would guess that's what a lot of people will do. They'll just go in there with their hidden gun that nobody knows they've got, which is, that's fair enough. That won't disturb anybody. A lot more comfortable with that, to be honest. The idea of people really concealing guns. The problem is that guns are hard to conceal. Maybe on a really big, overweight person with a big jacket, but they do tend to. You can generally spot them. So I've had experience of hiding guns on myself and of seeing guns on other people or being aware of guns on other people, and they're not easy to hide. But I guess if they're totally hidden and no one sees them, there's probably no harm done. But anyway, let's see what happens next. It's interesting, isn't it? It'll be interesting to see what repercussions come one way or another. I hope it's not violent. But people get so emotional about this gun thing, They really do, don't they? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The pro-gun people. It's intimidating for the anti-gun people. I'm sure that's why the comments so biased. You can't tell me that 99% of people are pro-gun. I don't believe that for a second, but a lot of those videos, the comments were 99% pro-gun. I think it's just a lot of other people don't want to get abused. Because it is true. Every time anybody talks about this topic, a whole heap of abuse comes down and threats and really emotional shit. It's very hypocritical. It's very hypocritical that people get so emotional about their rights to carry a gun in public, and get so emotional about it that they trample over other people's rights, like their right to free speech and their right not to be abused by aggressive arseholes and stuff like that. So, anyway, what do you guys think of the Starbucks man? What do you think? Can we try and keep it not abusive, please? But just tell us what you think of the Starbucks dude and his decision. What about if other private companies go down the same track? So other restaurant chains, Denny's or companies like that. What if they do the same thing? Do you think that would be good for the society or not? Yeah, what do you think? People's right to ban guns in their private property. You know, interesting topic, isn't it? So there goes a bunch more subscribers. But again, you know, I made a video about this recently about that sometimes making unpopular videos is important. I think so. That's why I made this, because I watched that guy and I thought, wow, that's a ballsy thing to do, and I thought I have to make a video to support it, which is basically what I'm doing with this. It's sort of giving you guys a little platform where you can express your opinions publicly in the comment section, but it's also to give my support to it, because I think when people do things like this, you know, to try and counteract the gun thing, I think people who agree with that should stand up and be counted, because this is a hard one. You can stand up and talk about your conspiracies day in, day out, and you can talk about how much you hate the government and how the government's all corrupt and conspiracies. You can talk about all that stuff publicly and people will support you. But as soon as you make any anti-gun comments, all the abuse comes. Talking about America, of course. If we were talking about anti-guns in Japan or another country, people wouldn't care. Japanese people don't care, they can't have guns. There's no people marching in the street here. They don't care. But yeah, in America, obviously, anytime this topic comes up, blah, 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 blah. And yes, I do have a right to comment because I'm a human being. You know, let's not be all parochial and think that only people within the boundaries of America can comment on what happens in America, because people in America comment on what happens in Japan and Syria and Iraq and Iran and all over the world. So, as we should be able to. Our right. It's our right. It's our right on this international forum to discuss any topic we want to. It's our right. So there goes a big dip in our subscriber base again. You start to get a few more and then we talk about the guns again, a whole heap more go walking away. Incredible. Incredible. How narrow-minded must people be that they can't listen to another person's opinion without protesting. Now, it's their right, of course, to walk away. It's their right to walk away and say, oh, I don't like him because he's anti-guns. The same as they're doing with this guy from Starbucks. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? I don't refuse to let pro-gun people comment on our videos. You watch below this video, providing they're not abusive, people can say, I disagree, I think guns are important for our safety. You watch, have a look down there, I guarantee you there will be comments under this video, pro-gun. So isn't it interesting, why would I not allow pro-gun comments on my videos, and why would pro-gun people unsubscribe because I have a different opinion? Surely we can't agree on everything. Maybe we agree on dolphins, or maybe we agree on pollution and environment, or maybe we agree on other topics. Homosexuality. Do we agree on homosexuality? Probably not. That's probably another dip. When I made the pro-gay, you know, don't be anti-gay videos, there was a big dip as well. Wouldn't be the same group by any chance, would it? The pro-gun people and the anti-gay people, hey? Sorry, I know that's not true. There's an overlap. There's a lot of gay people who love guns. Oh, that was a big dip. That was a big dip in the subscriber base. But the point is, we should be able to have an opinion, shouldn't we? Without getting all emotional. Same as the Starbucks thing. Okay, Starbucks guy's anti-gun, all right. Well, I'm not going to Starbucks anymore. That's okay. And really, if you want to unsubscribe from this channel because you disagree with opinion, that's fair enough too. But, you know, we should at least listen to each other. That's why I think the comments are interesting, because you do get the debate and you do get people with different thoughts on both sides, as it should be. I mean, it's just what sort of world would we be living in if everybody agreed or believed the same thing? That'd make for some seriously boring life, wouldn't it? So, you know, the last video was about Google, and 90% of people said Google sucked, and 10% went, oh, Google gives me wet streams, you know. So, yeah, different opinions, you know. Anyway, what do you think? Starbucks, guns, more companies. What about more companies banning guns? Do they have a right to? I mean, legally they do, But morally, do they? Do you think you should be able to walk into people's private property carrying guns? Can I come to your house carrying a gun? Can a gay guy come to your house carrying a gun? Hey! There we go. Some interesting comments to see. More videos coming soon.